Hey there guys, how's it going? I've got a kind of a process along video and a data share and also a kind of a data evaluation for anybody interested in seeing how the actual performance of the telescope that I've got on loan from First Light Optics, the Stellar RC10 Truss Tube Richie Chrétien, is doing. And I have to say it's doing really well. I've had 2 clear nights recently and I used both of them to capture a personal best image of NGC 281, the Pacman Nebula. I'm really dead impressed by the performance of this telescope, I have to say. I'm not going to go into this too much. I'd like you to decide for yourself what you think about the data. But certainly for me, it's been blowing my socks off and I've been really enjoying processing the kind of stuff that it can create. It's kind of made me a little bit sad because I feel like I've been missing out on so much stuff by spending a lot of my time shooting extremely wide fields, wide and fast with the raster a lot. But better late than never. I'm here now and shooting with this thing and it's a lot of fun. The processing data that I'm going to offer you for this kind of evaluation slash process along, if you will, can be processed into something looking a little bit like this with just a very little bit of effort. This was a 20-minute or so run through I did just to kind of evaluate it for myself before making this video right now for you guys live. And I have to say the amount of details on display is phenomenal. It really stands up well to some extreme levels of zoom. It just looks truly tremendous and it's far and away the best image I've ever taken of the Pacman. Now, if you don't know already, looking at this kind of square format, then the camera I'm going to tell you about that I've taken this data with is the Player One Aries M Pro. It's an IMX533 cooled monochrome sensor, and I used sulfur, hydrogen and oxygen discrete narrowband filters to actually take this data. So without any further ado, I realize that's been a very long introduction, but I've got a lot to talk about this thing, and certainly more to come about this telescope once I've got more miles under my belt. Let's get on with the processing tutorial now. If you check the description box down below, there will be a link to my Google Drive where I will have a zipped file for you to download, which contains these 3 files right here, the hydrogen, oxygen and sulfur for you. So you can just go ahead and process those in whatever processing software you want. I've just saved them as TIFFs, not the Pixinsight centric XISF format or anything like that, so feel free to play with it in anything. And also I'll include as well my processing icon set that I use for all of my images. Now this does include, of course, some paid software like BlurXTerminator, NoiseXTerminator, StarXTerminator as well, simply because I always process with them every image without fail. I do have affiliate links available for these down below, and before I get going I just want to say a huge thanks, very genuinely, to everybody who's already used those. You guys help me out an absolute ton every month, and I really mean that, and I am thankful to you. So let's get going. I'm going to go ahead now and select the hydrogen alpha, click on window and click on tile. That's going to put the HA window in the top left, which is just how I like to do things. Now to get things visible, I'm going to go ahead and stretch with SDF. So I'm just using the little icon at the top right there. You could equally use the nuke icon by opening up SDF itself from the tools if you've got those. And I want to first of all get rid of all these stacking artifacts. This is about 10 hours of data, which means there's going to be a lot of dithers, there's going to be meridian flips and things, so some degree of misalignment of the non-common areas is completely expected, and we've just got to crop those out first. Now the image that shows them the best is also going to be the best candidate for helping me get rid of them. So in this case, it's the sulfur right there. It shows them really strong. I'm going to use dynamic crop for this. So I'm just going to open it with the sulfur window selected and just drag in from those edges. If I just zoom in a moment, I'll try and show you what I'm doing. You can see I'm dragging that window until I've gotten rid of all of the stacking artifacts, leaving nothing else behind, just the true common area. Now before I actually hit tick, I want to drag the little arrow from the corner of the dynamic crop window onto the other 2 images, then hit the tick, And now all three images are cropped to the exact same common area, which is really important for us when we go ahead to recombine these a little bit later on. Now let's just take a little bit of a closer look at this data. So it already looks very good without any processing whatsoever. This is just of course a crop and an SDF, but the first thing I'm going to apply in this case to all three of these images is going to be a BlurXTerminator. So I'll just copy my view across. In case you don't know how to do that, just a case of dragging across the kind of identifier on the side over onto the other windows, and it makes them all match. The same for you. So I'm going to go ahead and open up BlurXTerminator, and just with it at complete defaults, I'm going to drag it across to each of these windows and then get back to you in a moment. Alright, so BXT has been applied to all three images now. As you can see, it just, as I left it on complete defaults, and can go ahead and take a little bit of a look at the difference that this thing has made to these images. It's can't really be overstated. Let's just zoom in a little bit more, make sure all of these are to that same common view for us, and just using Control Z and Control Y, I'm going to go ahead and undo and redo. You can see the effect it's had on deconvolving those edges. If you just take a look at a different region too, so let's say this kind of faint detailed nebulosity down here, I'll drag this across to the other three so we can take a look here as well. Again, the amount of improvement that this thing makes is there's no going back. For me, there is absolutely no going back. I don't want to process without this tool anymore. As you can see on the sulfur and the oxygen, they're kind of a lot more affected by the cyan than the HA is. So the star sizes are even more affected by the deconvolution, the AI-powered deconvolution that BXT offers. Huge difference as we cycle back and forth right there. And once more, just on the oxygen right here on the bottom. So undo and redo. Hopefully you can see the absolutely crazy difference that that thing offers. Really incredible stuff. And next up now, onto another wonderful tool, and that is NoiseXTerminator. So I'm going to go ahead and open that. And this time not with it quite at defaults, because I think the default setting is a tad strong for data that's already fairly clean. So I'm going to use this around about 75, I think, anywhere from about 0.6 to 0.8-ish, and you'll be absolutely fine. But let's just go ahead and apply this now live to this sulfur, let's say. Probably the noisiest of the channels right now. And sure enough, I mean, what a job it does. So, you know, undo and redo. Hopefully even through YouTube's compression you can see the amount of kind of smoothing effect that that has while completely preserving all of the detailed areas. It's not touching them at all. It's incredible. I can't say enough good things about these tools. Now that's been applied to all three images, as you can see. Huge difference. Let's go ahead and continue on with processing a little bit more. Now, you could, at this point, if you wish, use HT stretch unlinked and just drag that and drop it onto each of these channels. I'll just give you a quick demonstration of how that works. So that is now stretched effectively. I could reset my SDF and that would be a non-linear image. You could also, if you don't have these tools or anything like that, open up your histogram window. And with each of your windows selected with the SDF stretch left as is, you can drag the SDF instance onto the base of the histogram window, and then the histograms instance window onto the image that you're working on, and that also will give it a kind of a stretch for you using that SDF stretch. I'm going to go ahead and do that for each of these images actually, so I'll reset both tools. I'm going to go with that stretch right there, drag it across and reset. Now on this same thing right down here, pretty quick as you can see, doesn't take 2 moments, and now all three images are non-linearized. Works really well. If you had a bit more time, would certainly advise that you used GHS instead. But as it is, we're going to probably dabble in a bit of GHS just a touch later on in processing. For now, I want to actually kind of combine this image together. So I'm going to use, for that, LRGB combination, just untick the L. So again, a simple RGB combination. And I'm going to want to combine these in the SHO palette. So that's sulfur, hydrogen, and oxygen mapped to R, G, and B respectively. So in the R drop-down selection window, I want sulfur. In the G window, hydrogen. And in the B window, oxygen. As you can see right there, go ahead and apply global. Right, now that's finished. You can see we have a full color combined image with very, very, very magenta stars. Now, if you have the script for this, script utilities and correct magenta stars, you can get rid of that quite easily using that. But if you don't, then another way to do it is to press Ctrl and I to invert the image, drag SCNR over the image, and then Ctrl and I once again. And that gets rid of it also, because magenta is the inverse of green, as it turns out. So it's a good way to get rid of it. Now anyway, we're going to go ahead and continue processing on this. The next thing I want to do really is pull the stars out of this for further processing. So to do that, I'm going to use now StarXTerminator, the third of the wonderful Russell Croman tools. I'm going to click select generate star image and unscreen stars. We do want to use unscreening methods, as putting those stars back in with pure addition is a little bit more destructive to the image, I think. Alright guys, so there you have it. The stars have been taken out nicely. We've got a stars image, put that to one side, and a starless image, looking pretty nifty right there. Now, obviously it needs a little bit further processing. Now, my friend Bill Blanchard, excuse me, came out with narrowband normalization recently, and it's a really wonderful tool. You can use the SHO palette on this thing, open up a preview window, choose different lightness modes if you wish. You can boost, let's say, the O3 in the image, boost the sulfur in the image, apply SCNR if you want at this point. It's a really, you know, it's a valuable, it's a powerful tool, and I do recommend it. If you don't already have it, why not? You know what I mean? It's free to get, so enjoy yourselves with it. I'm probably going to use for this preserve mode, I think. Looks like it's getting us a lot of the way towards where I want it to be. Maybe a little bit more of that sulfur 2 boost coming along. That looks pretty cool to me. Go ahead and apply that. Put the colors closer to where I want them. I'm going to give this image a little bit more of a manipulation now using GHS in my case. I really do like generalized hyperbolic stretch. And in cases where I'm processing on my own, you know, and not trying to operate to a time scale for a video like this, I would always recommend taking the time and using GHS instead. But still, you can get wonderful results using the quicker options out there. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is the background regions of this look grey rather than kind of at least closer to black. So I'm going to use linear mode. I'm going to set a preview, and I'm going to drag across that black point and set myself a black point for this. Now you can see the foot of the data right there. I don't want to start intruding in that because I'm going to be clipping the black, and you just don't want to do that. You're going to start losing the kind of lowest contrast data in the image. You want to preserve everything you possibly can. So that's about as dark as I can go without clipping anything. I'm going to go ahead and reset the tool. It's now back into generalized hyperbolic mode, and at this point I want to make a final little adjustment. So I find that selecting around about the leading foot of the histogram distribution, using that as your symmetry point, and then a little bit of a stretch factor on there is going to really bring up the intensity of the image. As you can see, if I just kind of reset the tool, it's a very small adjustment, has made a huge visual impact on this image. I think you will agree probably. for the better. We've gone from before to after with a very small adjustment right there. I'm happy with that. We go ahead and apply it. Certainly don't think it wants that second pass of it. It's just a little bit too much. And now the thing that I'd like to do probably is use one of my little secret weapons, and that's to make a sacrificial clone and bring out some more of those green tones. So I'm going to make a clone of the image, which we're going to sacrifice effectively by bringing up the greens vastly in it, just using curves transformation. I'm going to go ahead over to those greens, bring up the mids, bring down the shadows, the mids a little bit more, so we're starting to get these green regions really starting to pop out now and show. I'm going to apply some more saturation. This doesn't have to look pretty, by the way, and it's a good job because it it certainly doesn't. It looks horrendous right now, I realise, but just go with it for a moment. And now we've got those greens visible in this sacrificed image. I'm going to use it to make a mask from. That's all it's there for. So now we've got some greens, these regions right here. Go ahead and close down that sacrificial clone. Apply a couple of passes of mask blur. You can convolve this however you want, but I'm using Bill Blanchen's color masking tools and masking blurring tools because I think they're really good. So I'm now going to apply that to my main image as a mask. Once again, open up curves, preview, and using the green, I'm going to bring up the mids on that now. Not too far, so it starts to look cartoonish, but certainly a little boost. It's going to go a long way to adding the that kind of green dynamic element to this image, and I think a little bit of saturation is going to add to it again. You know, there's the change. A little bit too much, perhaps. I'm going to back it off just a little bit, and let's just go check that preview. I think that certainly adds to the image, makes it look more three-dimensional and deep. Go ahead, close that down. We're done with the mask now, so we don't need that anymore. And I think perhaps for one final adjustment on this image, maybe just once more with curves, just a touch of a kind of an S applied to it, a very gentle one right there, and an overall saturation boost, just a very slight one. Again, you don't want to overdo this and it's going to start to look insane. But that looks good to me. Certainly brought it to life for the sake of this quick tutorial. Looks really good, and now it's time to put the stars back in. I've recently been checking out a script which was sent to me by a viewer, reintegratestars. Wonderful script, easy enough to find online if you wish, but I will also link to it in the description box down below. So I'm going to go through using this for you a second. So the starlight image is image 25. The star image is image 25 stars right there, as you can see. So we've got those two selected. We're going to use screening to put those stars back in. You could also, if you wish, reduce the stars using this, which is quite neat. I'm going to leave them alone, I think, for now, and just hit combine. So that's all put back together right now, and it's made a pretty cool image, I would say. Now, because the process has been really quite aggressive, there's a little bit of color mottle noise that's been introduced, but it's nothing that NoiseXTerminator can't deal with. So I'm going to go ahead, open that up right now, and apply it again at about a 0.75 strength, just on top of the whole image. There you have it. It's gotten rid of all of that mottle noise. If I just go back forth a couple of times, you know, it's now really nice and smooth. Left alone the detail in the image, as you can see. Just undo and redo. What's not to like? So that's my quick rendition of this data. Obviously, with some more time, you guys are going to be able to get some stunning results from this. I'm probably going to have a proper go at this over the coming week or so as well. And you know, add this one to the archives as a personal best for me. I'm really impressed with this telescope and camera combination, and I think there's going to be good things to come from it. So hopefully that's been interesting, useful, a valuable spend of about 15-20 minutes or whatever it's been, and I do thank you very much for spending that time with me. So thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate all your support, guys, in all the ways that you give it. And I just want to make that abundantly clear. I do appreciate each and every one of you out there. I won't take up any more of your time. I'm just going to say thank you, and I will see you in the next one. Peace, guys.